Now going to call the September 1st, 2021 meeting of the Norfolk County Commissioners to order. I'm going to ask everyone to rise and salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We're now going to read the executive order on remote participation. On Thursday, March 12th, 2020, Governor Baker issued an order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20. That order was effective immediately until it is rescinded or the state of emergency is terminated. On Wednesday, June 16th, 2021, by action of the legislature, the order was extended until April 1st, 2022. I'm going to call the roll. Commissioner Collins,
Present.
Commissioner Stady,
Present.
and Commissioner Shea is present. All three commissioners are present. I'm going to go right into the agenda. I'm going to call your attention to item number 3, which is the minutes of the open regular meeting on March 25th for approval.
I move approval of the minutes for August 25th.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote. Number 4, minutes of the open session on August 26th for approval.
Let's see. So that,
That's the one we did remotely, and we did
Right.
the 2, so we did the 4 or 5 jobs at the.
that's right. That's right. That was that short meeting. Right.
That's correct.
I move approval of the August 26 minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote. And the last minutes to be approved are the minutes of the open session meeting of July 28th, 2021 for approval.
Peter, did you have a chance to look at these?
Yeah, they look okay. I'll make the motion.
Okay, yep. He moved it. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote. Number 6, public comment. Did we get anyone speaking? Write us ahead of time? Is there anyone who wants to speak under the public comment portion of our meeting? Last call. Anyone want to speak under the public comment session? Okay, that concludes that. We have no appointments. Or number 8, old business.
No old business.
No old business.
Did you want to talk about, sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Sure, we can talk about anything you want.
Under old business, we don't want that, but how about the Patriots cut? No. Did you want to talk about the courts, or is that something we'll do
I was going
later?
to bring it up under my report.
On your own report. Okay, fine. All set, Mr. Chairman.
Number 9, personnel matters for consideration. We have 3 or 4 for the agricultural school. As we said last week, this is the time of the year that we not move everyone around, but a bunch of people in school has started yesterday.
Right.
Superintendent Martin's here with us today, so we're off and running at the school, but there's 3 if you can do them.
Right. Mr. Chairman, I'll move the following motions together. Notice of contingent employment for Shante Holmes of Walpole as a substitute instructor. I'll move the contingent employment of Samantha Kraus of Hull as a substitute instructor. And also lastly, contingent employment of Michelle McKeon of Marshfield, Mass, substitute instructor. Said people all hired at the rate of $100 a day, and it's effective 9/7/21. So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. I have a question. I probably wanted to ask this to the former superintendent, but since the superintendent Martin's here, I noticed over the years with, and I know from other school districts that substitute teachers are used universally. John, what is the history of substitute teachers? Are these young people that end up teaching, or are these older people that have life experience and have the credentials to teach, or how does it work?
Yeah, I can't speak to Norfolk Aggie specifically because I haven't.
Well,
had any
traditionally-
folks yet. As a traditional rule, you hit the nail on the head.
They're younger
It's-
people.
It's folks coming out of school who haven't got an opportunity for a full-time job yet, or it's folks who have retired, who need a couple of extra bucks or want to keep their hand in things. Usually not so much of an age spread in between. So it's kids fresh
Okay,
out of
but there,
school.
there is a history of some good substitutes have qualified, ended
Oh, yeah.
up being permanent teachers.
Yep.
Okay, that's
Absolutely
good
true.
news.
It's how a lot of folks feel they can get their foot in the door.
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, as a
Yes.
follow-up. Does the Aggie?
I know you
employ- No, it's just a follow-up. Do you
been a
have
teacher.
what are called permanent subs as well? That like they're, like in my familiarity is you had subs that come in from a list of people, you call them in to cover classes. But then they would always have one or maybe two permanent subs, and they got a little different rate, but they automatically just came in. And that way you knew every day someone would be out, sickness, family illness, something like that. So they were there. Do you do that, Aggie?
I
Do you
don't
know?
think we do. Rick's on his way. He can
Yeah.
answer that question.
I want to look into it. I'll ask you one more question then. Who calls the subs to work? Is that done by Lauren or the business
No.
manager or the vice principal or?
Yeah, it's done through the principal's office.
Okay, so they probably would know. Might just check it out.
But permanent subs are in play in lots of different districts.
Yeah, you know the deal, so. It's just sometimes you get a person that, again, it might be a person that might have just retired, maybe you want to keep their hand in it. So you got veteran presence and they're there, they can draw upon them for, reliability. But just a thought, so,
At Tri-County, we had two. One
Yeah.
was a retired
yeah,
gentleman
there you go.
and the other
Yeah.
one was a school-age kid.
Right. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, on the aforementioned 3 substitute teachers at the agricultural school, motion made and seconded, all in favor?
All right,
Aye, it is approved. Number 10, payroll and expense warrant for approval.
right. Mr. Chairman, I move the following, the county weekly payroll 22-9, in the amount of $142,981.73. So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
It is approved.
Move
Next.
the second and final one, county expense warrant of 9/122, in the amount of $297,506.77. So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor of the expense warrant? Aye.
Aye.
It is unanimous. Number 11, bid openings, we have none today. Number 12, contact awards, extension of the Abraham's Group contract service contract. I'm going to call on Nancy and/or Director Cronin.
Very briefly, Mr. Commissioner, Nancy will show that we are looking to extend the contract of Abraham's Group into fiscal year 22. As you know, his work continues. He's scheduled to deliver his final phase 2 report in late September. So this contract action extends the period of time for his services and also adds in a scope for him to prepare the documentation associated with the report in a professional manner. So
And the sum of
Nancy.
that addition was $3,800. And we would be extending the contract from the original end date of May 15th, 2021 to June 2022. But we didn't expect it much earlier.
Okay, so we're extending the date and then getting involved and having them all printed up and
that's pretty much
Yes, and that would be
for delivery in the month of September.
correct.
yes.
I won't say the 10th or the 12th, because when I do, it'll be wrong, but I'll say September, but
We've got him
We're
scheduled.
very-
Yeah.
it sounds good to me.
And that's an additional.
Any comment, commissioners, on the
Just
Abraham's Group
if I could to
contract?
clarify through you,
Sure.
Mr. Chairman. So the additional fund where only is $3,800?
Yes.
Okay. And it's till June 22.
Mhm.
And is this money in our budget or we didn't
Yes.
get it? It's in the budget. Okay, great. I had no problem with it. Peter? Let's see.
All set.
Okay,
I-
I need a motion to
Sure.
extend the Abraham Group contract
I've moved,
to
Mr.
May
Chairman.
22.
Yes, sir. I've moved that Abraham's contract for services be extended to a final date of June
30th.
30, 2022. And contract is outlined in a document that we will execute this afternoon. The sum of $3,800 to be paid for them to perform this additional service and to take any actions thereto. So moved.
Second.
Okay. Motion made and seconded to grant an extension of the Abraham's Group contract till May of 2022, hopefully for September completion and a cost of $3,800. based on a memorandum that we're going to sign here today. All in favor?
Aye.
It is,
Aye.
thank you. Number 13,
Right.
report on COVID-19 response.
Thank you.
Director Mullen, Director Mullen,
Oh, whoa.
Mullen,
Oh,
Cronin, Director Cronin.
oh, how do you feel?
I'm
entitled.
Mr. Chairman.
Director Cronin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Regarding the COVID-19 response on the county side, I've asked that this item be placed back on your weekly agenda as things around us, among us, continue to be impacted by the coronavirus. This past week, Norfolk County Commissioner's Office had to endure a positive case regarding an employee. We followed our protocol. The matter was handled according to that protocol. We recognize that the pandemic is still very much alive and well. And despite the vaccination rates being relatively high within Massachusetts, we're mindful that the Commonwealth is moving in a direction with its employees of mandating vaccination for executive branch employees. And several communities are now invoking indoor mask policies. I lay this before you as elected officials within the county to take action that you may deem necessary at any time. At this point, I'm not making any strong recommendations to undertake any additional policies, but I defer to you and your judgment. But I do expect to have this come up every week for the foreseeable future for any consideration.
Commissioners, any questions about COVID response or in general?
So the
Unfortunately,
office got a thorough cleaning and in terms of that, the response to that, right?
Points of contact were tested.
Sure. And then mentioned on the way over, I got a call from a local official, I guess in some towns, effective today, they are requiring masks inside for all buildings in terms of meetings. So something to watch. We're watching. Obviously,
we're going to monitor it every
I mean,
week.
just,
It's
yeah,
down.
just-
It's unfortunate. We
Yeah.
went through it last
Yeah.
year. We're a little more equipped because we went through it last year, but it's
Right.
very unfortunate.
right.
But we don't like to see it.
And this consideration, if I may weigh in, excludes the mandate of mask wearing that I believe the agricultural school is following per state guidelines affirmed by the superintendent. So this is outside the boundaries of what these schools are
Right.
working on.
Any questions? Go ahead, John.
Can I comment? Yes.
Superintendent Martin.
Commissioner Riley requested executive authority from the Board of Education last week to mandate schools, to mandate masks be worn indoors at schools. So he issued that directive and we've complied. And so at the Aggie, we will be wearing masks indoors. Kids and staff can remove masks when they're eating or when social distancing can be practiced, safely practiced out of doors. MIAA regs will require student athletes to wear masks when they're playing sports indoors, but not outdoors at this point.
Commissioners, anyone else want to weigh in on COVID discussion or COVID policy? It is our intention, unfortunately, to carry this every week on the agenda, so we can visit it as much as we need to, unfortunately. Okay. Moving right along.
Oh, wait, I could.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Just a thought, just a
Sure,
thought.
take your time.
In terms of COVID, last time DA Morrissey ran a clinic, vaccine program for our county employees.
Correct.
And I know there's talk about the booster. So could there be perhaps some, just to take proaction, maybe contact him and, or maybe look at what maybe when the booster becomes available for our people?
It has been discussed, and I
Okay.
believe that's our intention. I think
Okay,
it's a
great.
good idea.
Yeah, great.
I can't remember, some agency
Is Brewster? Is it Brewster?
told me they are doing it.
Oh, okay.
The good news is they did service some people. The better good news is they didn't have a big crowd, but that's good news.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it was well advertised. It could have been in the city of Quincy, but I can't remember who it was.
Mm-hmm.
I was somewhere this week and they said that they did pick up some more folks, but they weren't They weren't out the door like they were the first time.
Right.
Commissioner State, I'd be happy to make the inquiry to the district attorney. I will call attention to I believe the position folks were in 6 months ago, which was during that time period, the distribution network for vaccinations was not as robust as it currently is.
Mhm.
That has evolved obviously over the last several months. You can get a vaccine at virtually any
Right,
CVS or Walgreens right now.
Right.
I would expect the booster to reach those same distribution points, but nevertheless, if the DA wants to make a mobile access available to employees, I think it's a great service. So I'll make inquiry.
thanks. All right,
Thank you. Number 14, report on the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. Director Cronin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Regarding the American Rescue Plan Act preparations by the county, on Monday afternoon, we held our weekly tri-county meeting with Plymouth and Bristol to discuss the status of the portal project that CLA is working on. They've made great strides. They demoed the product. It seems to be ready for prime time. They are in a beta format right now, testing it through use of test data. And they are targeting the first or second week in September for activation. They are looking to roll it out first in Plymouth County, followed by Bristol and Norfolk after that. So we're on target for activating the portal for community use in September. There was an opportunity for some questions, and I just wanted to let the team on the Tri-County know that, with respect to the records associated with the transactions, it becomes public information. Every community is going to be submitting records associated with their application, their backup, their award, their expenditures. The current methodology will be that CLA will be hosting the data on a cloud-based server network. This server network will be available to the county in perpetuity, but as many of you probably know, I'm most concerned about the next 3 to 5 years when the grant is active, and then the following 7 once the grant closes for audit purposes, which is a long time. And I wanted to make sure that the county can gain access to that public record information for the next 10 plus years. It's likely that over the next several months, I'll be speaking with our technology people about taking a copy of that cloud-based data that we generate on behalf of Norfolk County and making a copy to our server network so that we have a redundant copy. I don't want to rely on a cloud-based solution for a record that we may need to keep for the next 10 years. Generally, though, the portal process is underway. All 3 counties are now enjoined with the 2 compliance officers and legal services. In addition, I just wanted to share with you, following the presentation that Norfolk County did last week on its presentation of the tool to its host communities, we've received very, very favorable feedback from a host of different communities, including Dedham, which sent a very nice note along today, Bellingham, which engaged me yesterday as they are looking to evaluate a host of different projects that they are trying to determine should fall within an ARPA grant application or their community's capital plan for the fall town meetings that they're facing. It's an excellent question, and I've turned the request over to Clifton Larson so that Bellingham will have a path towards understanding what may qualify from the batch. So it's another service that this county is providing, in this case, to Bellingham. Randolph asked an excellent question following the presentation. That is, can they find out if buying this portal and ancillary services for compliance on their own is available? And after some discussion with Clifton Larson, that is indeed the model. Once the program is launched by the counties and underway, Clifton Larson plans to take the portal, the application, if you will, and market it to cities and towns or any other public units of government that want to pay for the service. So I will inform Randolph that I think their prayers were answered for use of the portal for their NEU money. That's their non-entitlement unit of government funding that they're responsible for handling. They'll pay for it separately, but again, I think it's an extension of county services that in this case helps Randolph resolve a management issue. So overall, things are chugging along pretty good. And we'll hopefully come upon the release of the portal within the next 2 weeks. That's all I have, sir.
Any comment, any questions of Director Cronin, Commissioner Stady?
Yes, with your permission, through you, Mr. Chairman, two things. Number one, has there been any attempt on the part of our office to reach out to perhaps those communities who either didn't participate or weren't able to participate on the Zoom call on ARPA? In terms of, like, I know we had a great turnout. I understand that.
74
But-
individuals, I believe is.
But there were a couple of towns that maybe weren't able to attend. Any attempt to follow up on them by anybody?
So I'm not sure we kept a roster of who did and who did not attend by a community level, but our presentation is on our website, up on the YouTube channel. So I know, at least, I know Bellingham actually made use of that resource
Okay.
because she could not attend it, but she did subsequently view it. So
Right. Did Walpole attend?
Yes,
Oh, they did.
they, and we sent it to every advisory board member and every manager as
Okay.
well, so.
Okay, so maybe we don't need to worry about that. All right, second one, I saw on the National Association of Counties that they put out a memo that all the reports are due, I guess by the end of the day today, but that's for the ones who already got the check.
Got their check in
Right,
July.
right.
We
So-
checked on that.
So we're okay. But we have 60 days from the
From
date of when Treasurer Body got
August.
the money.
Right.
So what's the date for us to get our report in? Do we know? I'm just
So,
curious.
it's
Based
very-
on when
it's a
Treasurer
great
Body-
question. Unfortunately for Plymouth, they have to file.
Okay.
They received their money in early July.
Okay,
Norfolk County received it on or about November 22nd, which is after the cutoff date.
wait, you mean July,
Not
July
November.
22nd.
July 22nd. Okay, yeah.
And so we are not required to file under this deadline that you just expressed,
So
Commissioner.
we got to about, well, middle of September?
Right, and and by the way, that filing will now be done by Clifton Larson.
Okay,
on
good.
behalf of the
All
county
right,
as well.
good. All right,
And they did reach out to me and tell me, hey, if you guys received your money before this date,
right.
we'll file a report for you. I do see Joe Doria on the call. Joe was kind enough to go online and have a look to see if he could file something. We had no activity, so there
Yeah.
wasn't much to report, but
Right,
it turns out we didn't need to. So
right. Oh, good.
might want to ask Joe on behalf of the county treasurer if he's got any questions about the filing, because that's on their side.
Joe Dioria, our Assistant County Treasurer, is on the call today. Joe, are you getting any other kinds of questions about filing dates or anything?
No, we're all set. We were supposed to file an interim report by the end of the day yesterday. And basically, it's just a report with all zeros in it since we haven't done anything yet. And there was some technical issues with trying to file it. And I reached out to the US Treasury's technical people, and they're working on resolving the issue. So I think we're going to get an extension since it's something on their end that we can't file.
Joe, if I could ask, maybe after this meeting, if we can talk, I'd like to put Chris Rogers from Clifton Larson on a call. I
Sure.
need to keep them informed about what you may be encountering because they're being paid to coordinate that role for us, okay?
Okay,
Thanks.
you're welcome.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, comments from anyone about the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021? We're in, the swim is starting. We have another joint tri-county meeting on September 9th in Plymouth. So we'll be represented, of course, and, as I said before,
Pressure's on Plymouth.
it's new, but
I like that.
we're excited, and any questions, call. We're putting the team in place. Okay, next, number 15, report of the county director.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Take your time.
The first item on the agenda is the Quincy District Court. Yesterday, I was asked to join a Zoom call by District Attorney Mike Morrissey, who I've had several conversations with regarding the status of that particular facility. As you know from prior reports, the facility has endured HVAC failures, specifically air conditioning. It has had roof leaks, and it also has had some internal maintenance issues that were brought to our attention. This particular Zoom call featured 24 individuals, including a host of judges from across the state. I believe in an email that I sent to each of you, I listed, to the best of my knowledge, those honorable justices that did participate. as well as members of the Department of Capital Asset Management, the trial courts, and the Honorable Arthur Tobin. It was a great group. It focused a lot on the status of the building, and in a very concise way, let me express this. Next week, DCAM will come before you to discuss their interest in having a site assessment done of the property. The site assessment, which will be paid for by the Commonwealth, will review the structure, the land, and any other material relevant to the status of that space. You could conceptually look at it as due diligence on behalf of the Commonwealth to figure out if the property is what they think it is, and allows them to proceed with their plans to build a justice center on that location. During yesterday's call, DCAM confirmed that that location is the only location that they've identified for this property. However, in order for the construction to go forward, they will need to complete the site assessment and then successfully negotiate a land sale with you, the County of Norfolk, to procure the site and then put it out to bid for construction. Excuse me. Conceptually, once the property is conveyed to the Commonwealth, the act then will be to vacate Quincy District Court. Its function and employees would be relocated to what's called the swing space. I believe Quincy District Court is approximately 35,000 square feet. It obviously has a lockup. Employees, district attorneys, other prosecutors, and legal staff would need to find someplace that features public transportation, adequate parking, and so forth. The call included an extended conversation about the various areas in the Quincy area that have been previously available, but that have now moved on to other development. So there was a level of frustration that the state has missed the opportunity to properly find this location. Nevertheless, at one point, the trial courts did ask if the group would support expanding the area for the swing space to include Braintree, and there was consensus to do that. So DCAM will put out a public bid for this swing space, likely right around the time they're conveying the property with us, so that they can remove the occupants and begin the demolition and construction of the new facility. The only area that I was really intent on understanding more, and I asked the question of DCAM, is how long will it be from now until the point in time when their site assessment and relocation efforts are going to be underway? Because frankly, I've heard from this board numerous times that the state has approached this point of planning only to retreat, and repeatedly we found ourselves sort of kicking the can of development down the road for this facility. But DCAM notified me that they will be looking at about a year to a year and a half, maybe two of the outlier, to complete this process and move people out of that space. And at that point, we are not in business any longer in Quincy. The Commonwealth will own the property and own the new development. There's a lot of work to do between now and then. I asked Emily Glady from DCAM to stay in touch with me, because clearly you folks have some decisions to make, given this development, on timing, on what kind of improvements you want to make to the Quincy District Court. I can tell you I received a report of the need for a roof replacement on that structure. I do not have a cost, but I think you can imagine it will be very high. We do know that the condition of the HVAC systems, specifically air conditioning, not heating, that's okay. The air conditioning system is in need of rebuilding. That will cost about $50,000. As Commissioner Shea knows, we recently put in new carpeting for several areas for appearances as well as comfort. There is a need to look at lighting, which is presenting another problem. So overall, the building is just showing its age, it's showing its condition. But as we approach the next 1 to 2 years, I made the statement on the call that I hope everybody's eyes are open here. That, we don't want to spend good taxpayers' money on improving something that's going to be torn down in 2 years. But at the same time, we have an obligation to live up to the lease terms that the Commonwealth has with the county and allow the users to have a healthy work environment. So it's a challenge, nothing new, but it is something that seems to be catching a lot of people's attention. The call was robust, it was helpful, it lasted about an hour, and there was a verbal commitment to have another one date to be determined. I summarized the call in an email to you folks in case you had any questions about it, but clearly there is movement on it. One thing I would like to mention, I want to personally thank DA Mike Morrissey again for inviting me to participate. During the call, he made at least 2 or 3 attempts to inform the trial courts and DCAM to make sure they stay in touch with the Quincy mayor regarding redevelopment and or site assessment. With a public bidding process at stake, the location of this facility is critical to the services of what the trial courts provide. So hopefully folks at DCAM will make that connection. We'll move on unless we have any questions on.
No,
Mr.
I get a
Chair.
couple. I think we're gonna have a couple of questions. Commissioners, on this memo dated Tuesday, August 31st from John about his meeting, which he just outlined is, first of all, I think you're hitting the nail right on the head. I know it's current in your mind. We were there last Thursday in anticipation of this. I just have to tell you, as far as I'm concerned, and I only have 5 years here, but we've been torn between huge expenditures, particularly in the air-conditioned end of things, and the roof, versus there's going to be a new Quincy Court. We've all studied it and looked at it. This is the first time we're trying to get everyone, and I applaud everyone for having this meeting in one room. But we have to be very careful, as you mentioned, how we spend our money, because it's one thing to put carpet and clean up. It sure needs more cleaning. But some of the things that might be suggested are very high, and if they're only going to be there for a short term, I think it's a slippery slope for us to go down. But we want to be good landlords, and we want to do what we're supposed to do. This has come up the whole 5 years I've been here with John McGowan and all his people. I think it's brought to a head a little by COVID. There's no question about it. I know the DA is concerned about jury trials, and that allegedly no courtroom in Norfolk County is big enough to have jury trials because of COVID, not because of anything that's there.
Right.
I mean, these buildings are old.
Yeah.
And it's if you go from the Superior Court to Quincy Court, it's a span of a couple of 100 years. It's the way they were designed at the time, long before COVID. So it's a huge task. And I think, and maybe we can ask these questions of the team when they're in here next week. We are going to have our lawyer here. We're trying to be upfront. We're trying to be good, a good landlord in this case. And then, I mean, we're not going to fight with the state. At least I'm not. And I mean, we want to work with them, but it's very difficult sometimes when we're coming from 3 angles. But I think we got to really look at what we do beyond cleaning, which is no question about more cleaning and stuff like that. But even DA Morrissey's, and he's real good at this stuff. He really gets himself into it and knows what he's talking about. Talk about another study about air quality. I know we did one in COVID. And we did. It's slow. I'm going to ask for it to be here next week. John's on vacation, but I'm going to want it here next week in case it comes up.
Actually, Sheila's on the call, Mr. Chairman, if we want to just ask. Sheila, if we could send along the results of that air quality
Sheila's
test that
there?
was done
Okay.
in April, I think it was. If you could send it along to my attention, I'd appreciate it. Thanks, Sheila.
Okay. Just because I'm assuming we hired a professional. I know we did. It was done at the school. I know it was done in the other courts too. And I remember when it returned and, we all had bated breath, but for the shape we're in, we weren't that bad on air quality, which is a good thing. Could we be better? Sure. However, I did read through the lines here that maybe the DA would want to pay for a study. That sounds great. if he can pay for it. But he's very, very aware, and he deserves kudos for bringing everyone together. I just don't know if we're all on the same plane here, but I hope to be. More than 5 years we've been talking about a new Quincy Court, so.
Which I want to focus on that, but also other courts in our county. First, good job. Well done, putting things in perspective on that court and kind of giving us a sense of, if you will, shock value, how much is needed to get that where it should be. And then, of course, it's a balancing act. And we all go through that. You look at your own home. If you've got a home you've lived in 40 years and you only be there 5 more years, do you put more money in or do you not? Do you say, forget it, let the next guy do it? It's always that kind of a balancing act. I mean, we want to stay, we're in the court business though. I mean, as I was told a number of times, one of our main jobs is to maintain the courts. So I asked John to give me a printout of all the courts in the county in terms of when they were built, when there was renovation done, when's the last time they looked at it in terms of in-depth. I mean, it's amazing to me. I mean, the courts are old. They're old. I mean, it's not anyone's fault. They're old. And, so then my question, trying to learn the process, I know we maintain them. That means we clean them and we do the landscaping. And we paint the walls and we do things like that. But if it's something structural that needs really fixing or if it needs to be expanded, is that DCAM's job or is it our job or is it a kind of a group effort? Like what happens on something like that?
So as I understand it, if it's replacing a rooftop unit or putting on a new roof, or it's something that is integral to the building, that's on the county.
That's not us.
If we seek to change the program, for example, we haven't done this, but if we wanted to build an addition, I would imagine that'll be in collaboration with the trial courts as a user and DCAM as a potential funding source. What I've learned is that the communication, Commissioner, has not been strong. And I understand why. There are a lot of competing bureaucracies. We all operate in silos. But it is my intention to make sure that Norfolk County is at the table every time they talk about our facilities going forward.
Good.
I believe my former state partners are working in earnest towards a goal. Over the last week or so, and I encourage you to look at this as well, Commissioner, if you're interested, I've read up on the trial court's master plan. Since FY18, the Quincy District Court has been highlighted as a priority for replacement. And this goes to Commissioner Shea's comments about this being a circulated item for quite some time. The trial courts have spent a lot of money trying to assess through priority what their plan is to either remodel or replace certain courts. Quincy's at the top, and it has been. So they have at least put their efforts in the direction of getting it done. But bureaucracy moves at glacial speed sometimes, and I think what we're encountering here is that the endeavor and the goodwill is catching up with the intention. Unfortunately for us, we haven't really been communicating too well. That has stopped, and I think through DA Morrissey's efforts, the communication is now firm. There were great stakeholders on that call. Everybody was in agreement, Commissioner. There wasn't anybody who held back. So I think going forward, things will be better for everybody. But I want to make sure that we keep that contact regular, because if my roof assessment, and I've asked my friends at facility maintenance to follow up on me, if that roof assessment is that it has to be replaced this year, but no later than next year, that's a bad roof. Will it make its way through another bad New England winter? And if it doesn't, what are our options? We need to figure that out now. So we're going to have some tasks to perform at Quincy District Court that may include spending money that nobody really wants to keep it habitable. But so to your point, Commissioner, overall, I think the county is in the same boat as the remaining court facilities in the Commonwealth under this master plan. You can see what they're dealing with. Hundreds of millions of dollars worth of construction projects. And they have the same task we do, prioritization. So I don't envy them, but we're all in the same boat.
Is it online?
It is. I'll send you the link.
Send me the link. That'd be great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, again, there's only so much money going around. And I know that we have to have our own priorities. The state has their priorities. I mean, I don't know how to address the issue with COVID in terms of having adequate space unless you renovated something existing and just say, we're going to make this a COVID safe trial room. And I don't, and maybe we talk to John if there's something that could be done about that. I don't know. Other than short of adding on, that's a major project. So the other option would be, as DA Morrissey did already, leasing space somewhere and then, using something offsite or whatever,
I did monitor, we have occasion to talk to them about leasing of Was it Lantana or the other one?
I think it was Lombardo's.
Lombardo's.
I thought it was Lombardo's, yeah,
But it's over in October? Or
Yeah.
it's over-
yeah,
I'm curious how that's going. I mean,
yeah.
it was hyped in the press, but that's not a permanent solution.
No, no.
The district attorney spoke about that project in less than flattering terms.
Okay.
I believe they have, they've only conducted one trial there.
Yeah,
I might be wrong, but I thought I heard
Yeah.
him say that.
Okay.
His mindset admirably is looking ahead. Should the Commonwealth be thinking of designing courtrooms that can allow for social distancing and these types of pandemics to continue on and not be interrupted?
Mhm.
He claims that he has quite a few backed up major cases ready for trial,
yeah.
but they just can't get the trial room
Right.
space to get it done.
Well, it's to that point. Well, I'm sure
Yeah.
I don't believe in a meeting. We'll talk next week. My thought would be, again, have John involved with this. And like I said, maybe there's something in our circle of courts, just in our, we've got a wide range of them here. Maybe one he might know of that could be renovated and fit and retrofitted to address COVID type thing. Because right now, he is getting frustrated. D.A. Morris, he's getting backed up. It's not fair. And it almost looks like we're not doing our job. Well, our hands are tied. We have buildings built, some of them built in the 1800s.
We have the old-
yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
So, something to think about. A lot of talk. There'll be a great meeting next week. That should be great. But nice job.
Well, let me ask one quick question and not hold you to it. I see that you're talking about a roof at Quincy Court. Has a number been attached to that discussion?
Not yet. I've received the assessment of condition, but it did not include a cost. I've asked for.
And that's from a local vendor. And by the way, the name is Shea Construction. I know they're big. I
Yeah.
know they're union because
Yeah.
they've done courthouses, they've done schools.
Yeah.
Look what we just went through on the Superior Court.
Superior. Yeah.
And it's going on right now. And, it took us a year to get to that point.
Yeah.
And it's over $1 million. It's not being replaced. It's being
Rebuilt.
rebuilt and repaired and this and that. It's, these are scary figures. And if someone said we're gonna have to put 700 or 800,000 in Quincy Court, then you get thrown out in a year. I think it's a
Mm.
tough decision to make. But I don't want anyone to be inconvenienced. We don't want anyone to, feel put on. But and I'm sure it's going on all over the state. But we
Yeah.
have what we have here in Norfolk County, and we'll do the best we can. I think this is a subject that's going to be carried on we'll carry it under director's report, but the suggestions to look at the air quality study is good that we did, and the history of the courts would be interesting to see. Even land mass, if we could go out the back of one of these courts, I'm certainly not an expert on Rentham or Stoughton, but there's no way you could go out in Quincy, I'll tell you, that every bit is
Right.
packed.
That's right. And maybe it's not
And Dedham Court is right to the back of the property line
right.
too.
So you look at what you have for
Right.
space for both addition and parking. You have to have sufficient parking. So
Okay, this is under the discussion of with the county director, we're talking about courthouses most importantly, not most importantly, but mostly conversation around the recent meeting on the Quincy Court. But we're safe to say we're in the right place for monitoring purposes, for
I think so.
communication purposes.
Absolutely.
We've reviewed it. Is there anything else on this subject?
Briefly, there's a follow-up meeting with the trial courts I have on September 21st, I believe. This is a follow-up to the meeting I had 2 weeks ago with trial courts in Quincy, so I'm sure we'll be expanding our conversation to include the other remaining court facilities in Norfolk County.
That's I'm sure they will.
Yes. Briefly on another court facility, I did have a conversation with the engineer on the Stoughton job. He has completed his review and is preparing his report. I put him in touch with the contractor to discuss costing out the price of relocating the rooftop units to a favorable area not previously discussed or planned for. There will be a cost associated with this. Once we see what that cost is, will help us identify which path to take in terms of contract. We are beholden to Chapter 30B, as you know, so we want to stay within the boundaries. But I will tell you, the new mechanical engineer is exceptional. He's on top of things in a great way. Very happy, and he's prepared to work with Enterprise, who he has worked with in the past on other jobs. So The only remaining thing is the report, followed by the quote, and then we'll come back and talk to you about the path to take. Then the work will get done pretty quickly after that. So
Great.
we're in a good space in the story.
Great, that's great.
Incidentally, one last item. Mr. McGowan's been on vacation. He'll be back next Tuesday. Over the last several weeks, John Vignani has filled in for him, and I want to express my thanks to John Vignani. While I've worked with John since I've been here, John McGowan, working with John Vignani for the last couple of weeks with all of the things that have gone on has been a pleasure. A couple of things he's committed to. Number one, he's going to be conducting weekly assessments of each location. Facilities has a checklist that they use to go through and find out, is the cleaning up to date, is the painting up to date, is the lighting up to date, is the outside maintenance up to date. He will be actively keeping records now on, or inspections, if you will, on each of the facilities. Be happy to share those with the trial courts going forward if they have any concerns about the conditions of the facilities. And also I want to give my thanks to the facility maintenance crew here in Dedham for doing an unbelievable job, and I'm not exaggerating, clearing the lot across the street where employees park. It had really gotten overgrown. And over the weekend, I just can't even explain to you how much work they did. It was unbelievable. And my thanks to them. Really well done.
Good.
So that's it on the facility side, Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
Excuse me.
thank you. Go
A
ahead.
couple of other quick items.
Sure,
I
take your
want to
time.
let you know yesterday, I think I've reported previously, the county received a $58,000 grant from the Bureau of Justice for coronavirus, public health, and public safety. My predecessor had applied for the grant and received it, but the way the product works, you have to change the name and the contact, and working with the federal portal isn't always that easy. After a few fits and starts, yesterday I had a breakthrough with the federal government, and the grant was made available to me. I'll be receiving an email, knock on wood, in 10 days from the Department of Justice saying we may draw on that money. So it's been a
Okay.
long time coming, but I believe we have a breakthrough on that.
Can I have a question on that?
Please.
If I could. Can you refresh or ask Assistant Director Buckley which one of our member towns is getting the money? I think I only know one. What?
There were three altogether, Bill.
It was Randolph with one,
Quincy was another.
and Quincy was second.
Weymouth, through Mr. Chair.
There you go.
So it's Randolph,
Yep,
Weymouth, and Walpole, or is,
no Walpole, Quincy.
To be clear, the burn grant is going to Weymouth, Quincy, Randolph.
okay,
The Bureau of Justice Assistance Grant, which is out of the same overarching governmental organization, is going to Walpole. The Dove program, which is countywide, Domestic Violence Ended, which does amazing work, and the Manic Community Health Center in Quincy.
okay. Thank you.
Good. Just a couple of notes regarding our calendar. We had bookmarked a time in mid-September to honor former Commissioner Fran O'Brien with a ceremony. I've spoken, I think, to each of you individually and suggested that we move that to October. I noted in a posting we have for Fran that his birthday happens to be October 7th. And I think Commissioner Shea spoke to one family member today anyways,
No, I'll be talking to his daughter too.
there'll be
Just, I
more
want
to
to
come.
set the date firmly.
but we're targeting
We'll be ready, but it's,
October 7th, which is a Thursday,
Thursday.
for a ceremony to honor our Commissioner
and,
O'Brien.
Do you want to find it, do you?
No, I don't.
If we're gonna do Fran's ceremony on Thursday, maybe that would be a good week to change the county commissioners meeting to Thursday.
I think that's a brilliant idea.
That's
And
a good idea,
I
Peter.
just haven't,
Yeah,
I got to talk to I did talk to some relatives that were here today on another call, but I've got to talk to Cindy this week.
good idea.
And then be sure it's good for her. And then that's a great suggestion, because we'll have a lot of people here for that meeting anyway.
Are we gonna have a little reception after?
Yes.
So imagine we'd have a meeting and then have people
Yes.
come over here after
Yes,
for the dedication.
We haven't gotten that far down the planning cycle yet.
But we're-
All right,
we're
trying
prepared to.
okay. I like Peter's idea.
Sure.
Move our meeting to the same day.
Okay,
That's good.
that'll work.
That's good.
And just an announcement, Commissioner Stady, you asked me yesterday, the Tri-County meeting scheduled for September 9th is now booked for 12 p.m.
Yes, I saw that.
Plymouth.
Got an email from Assistant Director Buckley, and he mentioned that the pressure's on in Plymouth to outdo what we did. So I'm looking forward to that. I will attend.
So to wrap up my comments, I'm sorry for taking so much of your time.
Well,
September 9th is the Tri-County meeting. September 22nd is the Abrahams Group coming in to give phase 2. September 16th is the Finance Committee meeting. We'll be discussing the supplemental needs distribution of our surplus from FY21, as well as the ARPA program budget. On September 29th, the advisory board will be meeting tentatively at the high school. We haven't finalized that yet, but I think we are. We'll be having similar conversations with them about supplemental needs and the ARPA grant. And one final note, next week is September 8th, and it would be the week of the 20th anniversary of the September 11th attacks on the World Trade Center. We'll be helping the commissioners prepare remarks for notoriety of that date. Our RSVP program, Robert Pearson and Chris Goldsmith, were sending out notices through their network in honor of that remembrance, and also calling out the fact that 8 Norfolk County residents lost their lives that day. So we'll be looking to connect their message with yours, with the hopes that next week, on behalf of the Norfolk County population, you'll be recognizing them. So that is all I have at this time, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry for the length of my.
No, don't be sorry. We're here anyway. Any other questions of the county director, commissioners? We'll let them off easy today.
Mhm.
Thank you. Number 16, emergency items that the chair did not reasonably anticipate. Does anyone have anything else we want to discuss before adjournment? We do have a school committee meeting today, but that's at 2:30, so
Mhm.
we're in good shape here. Anything at all? Anyone have anything at all? Okay. I'll take a motion to adjourn. And as I said, if anyone wants to listen to a school committee meeting, we have a agricultural advisory board committee, board of trustees meeting at 2:30 on the same Zoom link. I think it is the same.
That might be executive session, but
Oh,
I think, but we are.
well,
we have
it's
to open
opening
the
up,
public.
but
Right,
we are
right,
going to, it
right.
does call for an executive
Right, that's
session.
right. No, you're right. That's right.
Okay.
All right, so I'll move we adjourn, Mr. Chairman, at 1:50,
Second.
1:55, I guess.
Okay,
1:55.
motion made and seconded that we adjourn, and we are meeting next week on September 8th at 1 o'clock.
Right.
All in